Hey guys, what is up? In this video we're going to teach you how to use Adobe Premiere Pro like a pro, or Chromajt style. So first thing I always do whenever I'm starting a new project is I make a folder. So you can see I'm working on a project, Apple Care Option 3 Policy, and I double click it, and these are the 4 folders I always create: audio, graphics, text, and video. I'll be explaining a couple of them in more detail, but they should make pretty common sense. Audio is audio, so if I go in here, these are the audio files I want to use in this project. Graphics, any graphics that I want to use. Video, here's the video that I'm going to be using in this demonstration. And then text, I don't have anything in here yet, but this one is my title, my keywords, and my tags for YouTube. So that way I can just copy paste, because in some cases, like the screen recordings, they upload really fast. So I don't have time to type them live, so this way I can just copy paste them, done with it. So let's go ahead and jump on into Adobe Premiere Pro. Now I am using Adobe Premiere Pro CS6. You might be using Adobe Premiere CC. Pretty much the same. Very slight differences between them. I've used both and they're pretty much the same. So I've already got a project started, but I'm not going to use that one. I'm just going to make a new project. Now, this is extremely important. This window will come up. You leave all this stuff the same. The render, the display format, capture format, just leave these alone. The only thing I'm going to change here is I'm going to change mine to HDV. Obviously, if you are using standard definition, you're going to want to make sure to use DV, not HDV. Now, location. This is extremely important. This is where your project file is going to save. I always save mine to Dropbox. I have a folder called Active Video Projects. That's where I save it. That way everything is on the cloud. I used to save everything to an external hard drive, but I stopped doing that a long time ago because it takes up a lot of space. Then you just title it. So Premiere Pro Tutorial Part 1. Okay, now this window will pop up. Just click cancel. I promise you, you'll be fine. Just click cancel. And then this is what's going to come up. Now this is not the layout I use or the settings that I use. You'll find that I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts. I think keyboard shortcuts are the most effective workflow in video editing. Therefore, we got to make a few changes to this. I'm going to go ahead and move my tools right up. Okay, so I'll show you what I did there. I grabbed these little dots, and you see how when I move it, these purple boxes come up on the screen. It doesn't matter where I am. These are called panels, by the way. And I'm gonna move it over here. Now see, I'll show you over here because it's a little bigger. When I'm in the center, it's gonna drop it in this panel. If I drop it, if I go up here, it's gonna go above it. If I go to the left, it's gonna go to the left. If I go to the bottom, it's gonna go to the bottom. If it goes to the right, you get the idea. So I'm gonna go over here and to the top of the audio mixer. That's gonna drop it in down there. I pretty much just leave it like this. Sometimes I will adjust it on the fly ever so quickly. And get it so I can at least see a couple of the tools that I use quite frequently. But like I said, I rarely ever use the tools. So now that we've got that done, we need to move this window. Kidding, wrong one. We're gonna go ahead and get rid of the media browser, the info, the markers, and the history. So all you should have is your project and your effects. That's all you should have there. Up here, leave the source, effect controls, Get rid of this audio mixer, you'll never use it, and same with metadata, you'll never use it. And over here, leave it as is. Do not touch it. Now, the next thing we're going to change is keyboard shortcuts. Now, I mentioned earlier, keyboard shortcuts are extremely useful in this program. Now, by default, Adobe Premiere has their own set of shortcuts. I do not use the Adobe Premiere shortcuts. Sorry about that. What I do is I go to Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts. Now, this will pop up. And like I said, by default, it's Adobe Premiere Pro CS6 keyboard shortcuts. I don't like their shortcuts. I think they're a little confusing. But if you click in here, they have the CS5 shortcuts, Avid Media Composer shortcuts, and then down here, Final Cut Pro 7. Those are the shortcuts I use. I use Final Cut. I'm very comfortable with the Final Cut Pro shortcuts. Obviously on Windows, there's a few changes to make them Windows compatible versus Mac compatible. But I do use the Final Cut Pro 7, so that way my workflow is the same regardless if I'm on a PC or a Mac. So I'm going to click OK. And bada bing, bada boom, we are good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and end this part here, I think. So let's just quickly review what we learned. First thing we learned was that it's extremely important to have your files in a folder. Definitely. This is not something you want to throw in random places, because if you move one file, it's all gone. This way, if I move the folder, my project is still intact because everything is in the folder. Next thing you learned about setting your project and saving it to an appropriate location. I highly recommend saving to the cloud, but saving local is fine as well. Another thing you learned how to modify the layout of it, and you also learned how to modify your keyboard shortcuts. The last thing before I finish this video is I gotta show you how to save the workspace. If you go over here, you go to Window, Workspace, come down here, New Workspace, and just change it to whatever you want. So Justin's Workspace. For me, if your name was Dylan, you would name it Dylan's Workspace, or if your name was Duh, you name it Duh's Workspace. I really don't care, whatever your name is, just go with it. And then, let's say you get it all messed up. Let's say you were in color correction and somehow it ended up like this, and you're like, I don't want this. How do I get it back? Just go to Window, Workspace, find the one we just made, and bada boom, bada boom, it resets all the windows to how you saved it. So, hope you enjoyed this part. Look out for part 2. It's coming very soon. I'm trying to keep these under 10 minutes, so that way they're never overwhelming. I will see you guys in the next video. I'm out of here. Peace!